Good evening, folks. Jim's dancing again. Oh dear. Good evening. Good evening. Hope all is well. It's Monday night. And it's Airfix and chill. Hope you've all had a good week on your benches. I didn't really have a topic tonight, but I had a couple of questions put through. But I thought that we would do some kits that had some major announcements. And I think it's wise that we talk about these things because REVELL with their METEOR, we've got Airfix with their Spitfire TR9 imminent, and I think it should be here now, and other kits. And then also we can find some CAD images because I hear that ICM have got CAD out now for their new Hamden. So if we can, we'll go through them bit by bit. But first off, some announcements. There will be no Airfix and chill next Monday, and no Moz Models channel members meet on Tuesday of next week. I'm going to Cornwall for the weekend to fly the flag of cream on first, I'm afraid. So I'm going to go down there and make sure that they realise that cream is butter and you don't put jam on first. We're going to go down there and have a proper cream tea with cream on first. That's the plan. So yeah, get out of the way. So there's no Airfix and chill next week. I'm going away on holiday. But unless James wants to run it, it's up to him. I don't know. But as I said, I won't be around because I need a week away, lads. I've not had a break, and I've got a little gap in my schedule from doing discos and whatnot. I'm going to go down there and have a few days away. I will be at Western Supermare Helicopter Museum on Sunday. I'll be there showing off my models. So they're in a new hangar apparently. So I'll be there on Sunday. So if you're around, pop in and see us. Sorry, Annette, I know we can't be friends anymore. You don't jam on first. Definitely not. Do you put the jam on the cheese or the ham? You don't put it on the bread then if you put the jam on first. So yeah, I'll be there on Sunday. So that's at the Helicopter Museum in Weston. So there's a model show there. I also have somewhere in another file here. I think it's this one here. If I present image share screen. Where is it to? There's another one here for I can't find it now, but we'll have a look in a minute. It's for another model show. It's West Anglia model show. Theirs is on Sunday the 22nd of June, so the same day actually. That's quite good. They're having a model show as well. If I can present that, I will. Where's it to? Share screen. There it is there. So they have a model show this Sunday as well. I hope you can all see that. No, you can't. If I click on that one, you will now. There you go. So they have a model show this Sunday as well. So if you want to go along with that, that's absolutely fine. And yeah, all good. And Annette, you're so wrong. Just a layer of jam and then load on as much clotted cream as you can and balance on top. No, can't do that because it goes all moist then. And you cut.
Wait. What is clotted cream?
Oh, yeah, Jim won't know about clotted cream. They milk it from the goddess's breasts in Devon. That's where they find it from. It's the most amazing cream you'd ever have.
It's gone off cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, it's like ice cream, but really, it's lovely. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried, it's not like that fish stuff in a tin. Do you know what I mean? This is glorified butter, basically. So, yeah.
It's just cream with a higher fat content. That's all.
How can the jam act as a waterproof layer? That doesn't make sense because jam isn't waterproof. It will soak into the scone or the scone, whichever way you want to say it.
Perhaps Annette rubs jam into her raincoat or something.
Yeah, that's right. It's cream on first, I'm afraid. Anyway, I'm going down there as part of the. There you go. Basically, it's you fill a pan with thick cream and gently poach or heat it until it cooks pretty much solid. But it's glorious, absolutely glorious. So there you go. Yeah, so that's That's the way it's saying it. If you've got any more, please send them to me by email or on Discord or Instagram, and I'll save them as a PDF. So, right, let's move on. So we've got that one sorted. Let's move on to this one here. If I go to this one here and share this tab instead, you should be able to see this Gloucester Meteor first edition from REVELL. So there's some CAD images there of it. Apparently it's nearer at the end. And this is, they're doing a special edition, allegedly, which is, we can now confirm the set contents for our new tool release, the 132nd Gloucester Meteor, the F8/FR9, first edition boxing. So you have all the plastic parts to build either fighter. Either the F8 fighter or the FR9 photo reconnaissance version. Pre-colored photo etch for cockpit included instruments and seat harness kit. The seat harness kit will include seat parts with harness molded in, seat parts without harness to accept the first edition photo etch, and seat parts designed to work in conjunction with kit inclusive pilot figure included molded harness. So I presume that's going to be like a 3D printed thing, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting. The window mask set for both inside and outside, which would be cool. 5 decal options, 4 F8s, 1 FR9s, and then manufactured by Cartograph. Gloucester Meteor book, produced by, what an amazing name, Duke Hawkins from the Wild West. Will focus on the F8 and some FR9 detail included. You get a poster. Who doesn't love a poster? But there's only going to be 3,000 limited on this one at the moment, I believe. 3,000 is the limit. Price, let's have a guess. What do you reckon the price will be?
I'm going to say £75, around about that.
For 132nd. Go on then. Anyone else want a gander?
1.2 million.
Probably around the £100-ish.
Yeah. Go on, Alex. What do you reckon? You might know.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm going to say 99.99 because they did that stupid Eurofighter 1/72 scale one for a 32nd scale limited edition Meteor. I can't see them asking less than that.
Yeah. Well, it's
Maybe
100.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, it's 119 euros.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so difficult, isn't it? When it comes to these things, how do you price these things? Now, on here, you can see that they've got if I can get bigger, if I press that button there and go to 200, does that come up bigger? So it's not really, it's just basically there's the poster there on the left. You've got the mask set for the early version and the late version. That's wrong, isn't it? So you got early version, that should be late version, I guess. I know. Outside, that's right. Yeah, so I get it right. So the early version on the top there, late version underneath. Cockpit etch set, which is pre-painted. It does look Eddard inspired, if you're looking at it. Or was that just me?
No, it would be. I mean, the problem is with coloured photo etch, as we all know. As soon as you start applying glue and everything else, you start to remove the colour. And yeah, it's a nice gimmick, I would say. Actual use, it would be problematic, I would imagine.
Do you reckon? Yeah. I've never used photo etch, coloured photo etch anyway. Give me a chance. I'm only just starting to use photo etch version. You know what I mean?
I think, like I say, it's a nice gimmick, isn't it? But they're years behind everything else now. Photo etch for cockpits is, there are better options, in my opinion, out there now.
Yeah.
It's 3D decals, etc., Red Fox, people like that. Photo retro was great when there was nothing else, but there are other options now.
Yeah, I must. Sorry,
Yeah,
I must admit that what Luke says is right. And having used a 3D cockpit decal, if I was given the choice between a photo etch set and a 3D set, I'd go for the 3D, Quinta type thing straight away every time. Even though I find it somewhat unsatisfying to use it.
Yeah, it is.
You get an excellent result.
Yeah.
I think the problem with having this kind of, and Revell do it a lot with their platinum editions, is you get this set of all this stuff that is going to appeal to a certain subsection of modelers, because as both Sinzan and Lucas said, there are better options out there. So I think Nigel's made a comment as well, would like to take all those things. If the kit's about £65, like separately, a lot of people are just going to wait for that because they think, I don't really want the book.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the mask set they'll probably do cheaper mask sets actually because there's not a lot of masking on the Meteor. And I'll prefer a 3D decal. So actually, I'll wait till that kit comes out. So putting it all together like this seems good, but it's a bit of a risk as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a gamble, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't. Which one was it that they? Which kit was it where they added everything to it, and people were like, "That's a lot of money for." Did they do?
A full Pontos set and a wooden deck.
Yeah, they've done it on a couple of their ships. They did the Turpits. I think they did the Bismarck and called them Platinum editions. Or they've done a couple of ones with lighting sets, haven't they?
Technic, we call that.
Not everyone wants to light their model.
Yeah,
So it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, interesting. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. A 1/32 Meteor. I'll probably do the reconnaissance version, to be honest. But remember, this one's coming with is it 2 engines? One you can have out on a trolley, isn't it, or something? I'm looking forward to it. I'll be really pleased when it comes.
I think the actual kit looks good, but again, this is a 3,000 piece limited edition, that I wonder how many are going to be bought and will sit in model shops and stuff waiting for collectors. Or go to stashes, and people will wait for the, as Nigel said, £65 actual kit before it gets bought and built.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's probably what I would do.
You can help me here with the schemes because they're giving me 5 schemes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 schemes. Now, allegedly, 4 of them is for the F8 and 1 of them is for the FR9. Which one would be the FR9? I presume.
Second one.
The second one, the Operation Musketeer.
Yeah. It's the second one.
I'm trying to see the difference. I don't know the difference where the FR is at the front, innit?
Yeah.
It has a glass window
in front. Yeah, I'm looking under the belly, you see. I don't know what I'm looking at the sides for, like an idiot. It's at the nose, isn't it, on that one? Yeah, so you've got...
The early versions have the cut-off canopy.
Yeah.
And the later ones have a bubble canopy.
Okay. Interesting. So I like that RAF Biggin Hill one, the first one. That's a bit tasty, that one. Which it's just... Yeah, the difference is the decal scheme, isn't it, really? You got the Korean War one there in 1953. That's a nice looking scheme. This orange one, the Belgian Air Force one, that's a bit tasty as well, isn't it?
I mean, having the bubble canopy and the FR option, the 2 engines in the kit, this is a nice range of decal schemes. I mean, it looks like a decent kit.
Yeah.
You've got to, and if you want to go aftermarket, that it's giving you a good range of possibilities.
How much is the HK models Meteor? I don't know. I've no idea. Did HK do a 1/32?
They did do a 1/32 scale one.
Right. I don't know how much it is. What
It's
are
about
Revell's
55
latest
pounds.
what are Revell's latest aircraft toolings like?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say was when was the last time they retooled when they tooled a plane? Because to my knowledge, the last thing they did was that submarine, and that was quite nice. I'm trying to think what the last tooling they did.
I believe the last. I'll just interject. The HK Meteor is £66 at Hans.
Yeah.
64 at Jadlam at the moment.
Oh yeah.
And
So
that's
65.
it's the F4.
Yeah. But do people want to build an F4? Would they want to build an F8 or the FR9?
Now, if you remember, Rebel quietly dropped the F4.
That was the F3, wasn't it? They dropped.
Or the F3, yeah.
Yeah, it was the F3 they dropped. But does the HK one come with the engine, a detailed engine?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
Hurricane
Nigel hasn't got a kit of it.
The Hurricane 1/32 scale goes well together. I think Plastic Monkey had built that and thought it was okay. I haven't got one, to be honest, to look at. I think at the time, I think the Qatari one. No, it wasn't. That was not. No, sorry, 1/32. There was a Qatari Spitfire that I went for, and I didn't. I got hold of that instead of the Hurricane, but that was 70 quid, wasn't it?
Mm.
The Qatari, the first Qatari 1/32 scale Spitfire was out at about 120 odd to begin with, and it's dropped down quite considerably since then, and the market's driven the price down. And I suspect they're probably quite happy to realise 75 to 80 quid for their model now. But as you know, I'm a bit of a fan of Qatari in that sense, because it's really very well put together.
Yeah.
And Plastic Monkey didn't have any trouble with his Hurricane, by the way, excepting the fact that he had to use extra thin quick setting to make it stick together.
That's right. Where are you, Nigel? Jump on. That's right, because the glue was different. The plastic wasn't sticking properly, was it?
Yeah, Nigel had a similar problem with it, didn't he? So
yeah.
But it like most of the later Revell kits, as far as I can see, and I've just done a 1/48 scale Blackbird, they go together fine. Absolutely no trouble. You know, they're very good like that. You know, so and they're quite thoughtfully designed as well, I think, to be perfectly truthful.
Yeah. Oh. Nigel's in the garage. Okay, fair enough, mate. He's probably wax on, wax off his Fiat 131 or something.
That's a pathetic excuse, isn't it, really? But there we
are. Yeah, you're saying about because there were I think when Airfix pushed out that 1/24 scale Spitfire at £94 and 97p, whatever it was, that really did put a look down on the Qatari Spitfire at the time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be honest, it's a bit of a null comparison, if you want my honest opinion, because they're about as alike as two completely dissimilar things in a pod. You know, one's the Mark 9, one's the Mark 1A. You know, they're very, very different animals. You know, fundamentally the same, I know, but I don't want to get precious about this, but I think that he says immediately getting precious about it. The Qatari went their way for what one might describe as a purist, you know, anatomically correct, you know, historically correct. It's you know, it was absolutely there. And the opportunity when you get the 1/32 scale Qatari Spitfire of any mark actually to get something that is entirely correct, to the tiniest detail.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the 124th Airfix kit isn't a good one. It looks really good, and in the hands of a good modeler. I think Nigel did one, didn't he? And I think
Does anyone know?
John Alec did one as well.
Yeah, John Alec did one.
And Alex, I've seen your example in the flesh, as it were, in your shop. You've got one on display in your shop, haven't you? And they all look pretty good, quite honestly. And it seems to be one of those models that you can get a good result on quite easily, and that means then you can concentrate on the job of making it look realistic rather than having to think, oh, hang on, I've got to put this together and mend that and repair the other bloody thing. And that's what encourages people to throw kits in the bin, and Revell don't do that anymore, in my view.
So what kit was that? What kit was that? I was busy reading the comments that you built, man. Alex, what did you build?
Mine Spitfire.
The Mark
Yeah, we're just talking about the 124 scale Spitfire.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit missing because I saw Nigel put agree was in as 100% on the Spitfire, so I was just a bit. Was he's on about the Qatari one or the Airfix one?
I think I'm going to assume what Nigel means here, and forgive me if he doesn't, is that they were two very different animals. They're going to appeal to different parts of a marketplace.
That's right, yeah. Sorry,
without question.
So I was just trying to catch up on the comment that was on. I missed when you jumped from Qatari back, but yeah, I've still got my Spitfire up there to do one winter, because that's a winter project for me, to get in and sit down, do it in a week. That's the idea. I've even kept the Outlaw paints to one side just for that market Spitfire. So
very, very sensible.
Yeah, so that's going to be my my shout to that one. But yeah, it's going by the poll at the moment. Just looking at the poll, which if I can open up, have a look. 64% of you would buy that Meteor. What I should have asked was, would you buy the Platinum Meteor, or would you wait for the non-Platinum version? But I suppose they would, because it'd be the first edition. They'll release that and maybe give it 3 to 6 months, then release it as just a standalone Meteor product, I guess. But it's always a big risk, you know. I think they've done it backwards. I think they should have gone Meteor bog standard plain and then release a Platinum version later on. But it's an experiment. It's one to look at, isn't it? You know, would it work?
I think the issue with doing it that way. So, I mean, the model itself, the Meteor as an aircraft, has zero appeal to me. It's not something I would go out and buy. But if someone is interested in building a Meteor 32nd scale, if they release the standard kit first, and then 6 months, 9 months down the line, release a Platinum edition, well, the people that are interested in building a 32nd scale new tool Meteor would have already bought it. You know, and they're not necessarily, they're narrowing their market at that point massively. Yeah. Because are people then going to go and buy the same kit just because it's got a bit of photo etch in it or some lights or probably not. Whereas if they release the special edition first and there's no other option out there currently, people will buy that at the inflated price.
Yeah.
And then if people really want to build a Meteor but don't want to drop 120 euros on it, they'll wait until the 60 odd pounds kit becomes available. So I think that's maybe why they've done it that way.
Well, just quickly on this was that I just think that they are squeezing, as you're saying, for the way I'm looking at it, is that there are scale modelers out there who would not be able to afford the 120 euros or 100. It'd be 120 quid, because even if it's 119 euros, cost of importing it and everything is going to add on to that. And I just think that if they just released it with that cheaper price, it'll get into hands a lot quicker than those who are waiting for that non-premium version to come out.
There could as well I think there could as well be an element of setting market expectation, and this might be a foray by Revell into a premium marketplace. I noticed just a minute ago that Five Eyes mentioned this in terms of they go out with something that's all singing, all dancing, got lots and lots of knobs and whistles, and it's more expensive. It costs more money, and it gets people in thinking about spending that kind of money on Revell. Now, that's actually increasing the value of their marketplace, and if they're thinking in that way, it wouldn't surprise me if they were wanting to try that. The other thing is that they can price set for the plain kit as well, and they can put other things in with it. Maybe, I don't know. It depends. They could have a £75 kit that's got a lump of photo etch, and then they could have a £70 kit that's got nothing at all in it, or something like it. It depends on how they want to go.
I mean, if you look at other stuff in the marketplace over the last couple of years, look at what Italeri have done. They released their what is it, the 205, the oh god, whatever it's called, the Italian fighter. Yeah, in 32nd scale. That was £115.
Yeah,
it's a lot smaller than a Meteor. You know, it's got a little bit of photo etch, less than that Meteor has. It doesn't come with masks. Comes with some beautiful decals. You know, a big sheet for the camouflage. But it doesn't come with a book. So, and to my mind, that was too much. So actually, I've just seen it's £110 at Wonderland Models. So it'll be about that pretty much anywhere else. £110. I mean, the Meteor is a big aircraft by comparison. I think it is going to appeal to a certain. It's sort of self-selecting anyway, because a 32nd scale Meteor is big. You know, it's too big for me. 48 scale is big enough for, I think, if you like, the casual modeler who has, like Luke says, I don't have a particular interest in the Meteor. I've got the Airfix 148 scale. That's big enough for me. You know, that's fine. So it's already a narrower market. So by going a bit premium, you know, adding those extra bits in to just push it up to that £110 mark. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good debate to have. It's a good debate for a scale model company to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you can only try things once, can't you? And if it goes well, it goes well. Again, you know, like we were just saying there, this one does, the HK models does not have the engine, but the Revell one does. And that does appeal. You can ask, you know, this was the biggest debate between the Qatari one and the Airfix one, was that the Qatari one never came with the engine, whereas loads of people got the erection section going because it had the engine. And that was why, you know, we all looked at it and went, wow. You know, we were saying at the time, you could release that engine on its own.
Yeah.
People would buy it. And that, but and everything in that, when it was released, £94 4 years ago.
Yeah, but Airfix have never released a 24 scale aircraft without an engine in it.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
They've never done it before. Everyone's always had an engine in it.
Yeah, the quality of them has varied over the years.
Oh god, yeah. that first Spitfire.
I don't know what you're talking about.
that BF 109.
Most of 1A Spitfire and the 109, they were terrible fitting kits, weren't they? They didn't.
I'm actually just doing the vintage classic Stuka, the JU87B.
It's a lovely kit, that.
Astonishing, actually, for the time. I mean, I'm doing it as, you know, I'm revisiting it because it's a kit very dear to me because my dad and I made it, you know, bought me one Christmas. So it's a pure nostalgia thing for me. But I'm looking at the cockpit and just doing that, and it's actually, you can get an update set for it. I can't remember the company. They do a resin one. It's £65, and I'm looking and thinking, yeah, it's obviously much better, but does it need it?
Wasn't Nigel building that Stuka with that aftermarket set? Because he had it on his channel, didn't he?
He did. Don't know about the update set.
Yeah, he had all the aftermarket parts for it, and then YouTube pulled his videos down because of a certain symbol.
Yeah. At the time, yeah, we just, I think that's dying down a bit, but I still don't trust YouTube on it. No, Moss. The trouble with the HK is that it just has holes. The Qatari kits are a different story, as they have Merlins.
Mm.
Oh. Right. No, it's not. Sorry, I can't put the poll back up. It was only. We see the poll. Go vote on it. I'm just trying this out tonight because I've got both screens open. Stuka Sunday, apparently. Stuka Sunday. So, I'm building the kit with the updates, but stopped doing due to YouTube issues. I think it will die down in the end. I got the Meteor for £95 at Jadlam.
Yeah.
What, the Revell one? You didn't? It's not been released yet.
Jadlam
Have you pre-ordered it? I guess. I think you meant you pre-ordered it. I think.
Moss.
What's
Jadlam have got the TR9 Spitfire in stock.
Shh.
I know.
That's next. That is crumbs. Yeah, because I've already got me message come through that it's on its way to me. So, but anyway, let's go on. Let's go on to that then. So, Airfix announced it today. In one of their videos, they put a video out about it, and it does look a bit smart actually. So if I click here,
yeah, it does.
hang on, let me just work this out a minute so I know what I'm doing. Right. So that needs to go bigger. Right, that's bigger, and then I need to turn the volume off because I got a copyright strike last time because I played the YouTube video, and I was like,
Yes,
I got a copyright strike on that one. So present, share screen, Supermarine Spitfire, click share. And then add. This is a pain in the ass. This is right. There we go. So press play on their video. So bum, airfix.com. And I'll tell you what, it does look a bit pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's the Irish scheme, isn't it?
yeah.
They've got raised rivets there on the engine.
Those are no, they're Zeus fasteners. They're
These
called.
fasteners, yeah.
That's a nice scheme. I like that.
Yeah. That's the one that's out there now, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one that's flying, not Duxford. Where is it again? It's the one down in the southeast, isn't it?
There are a number of companies that fly these. Duxford has a I think a pair of Mark 9s. Boltby, I think, have 2 or 3. In fact, one of the Boltby Mark 9s, I think, has recently crashed. And they had one floating over Dawlish this afternoon with invasion stripes on it. So that was interesting. It was doing climbing rolls over Dawlish.
Big in Hill. This one's from Big in Hill.
Yeah.
But that is bang tidy, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit, when they announced they were releasing it, I fancied that on my wish list.
Am I assuming that it's the same as the Spitfire that they're releasing now, but they've just added 2 new fuselage in a cockpit in the kit?
And new wings, Moss.
Pardon?
Yeah. And new wings. It's got the E-wing.
Yeah.
So what's the new one they're doing this year then? The 148 they're releasing this year?
They're doing the Mark 9E.
I'm just asking, do you think they've been able to do this on one different sprue? The same kit, but then release it with a different sprue. One to add the one with the extra fuselage and the extra canopies on. Because I didn't realize, I didn't twig until I looked at it properly that even you've got 4 sets of glass there as well, haven't you? There's 4 parts glass, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of work to do when you change over. Most of the Mark 9s that you see flying these days were post-war conversions, and there's a hell of a lot of work to do to get one of those to turn a single seater into a 2-seater. But I think a similar thing would apply to actually re-engineering this model. You've got quite a lot of work to actually do, because you'll have to introduce 3 new frames in this behind frame 11, which would be the pilot's bulkhead, where the bulletproof shield is. So you then have to put some new frames in to accommodate the new seat, the new gubbins and all the other bits and pieces. Because it's dual control, remember?
Yeah.
It's an interesting change, and there's quite a lot to go there. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, largely speaking, a completely new mold.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
They might have a few parts that carried over from the Mark 9, but not a lot.
I concede absolutely to my learned friend there.
Yeah. I was just assuming that would be the. I was just whether it would have been easy to have produced that Mark 9 that they've done, the Mark 9E, or whatever it was, and then just added the fuselage and the extra bits to make it into a two-seater. Because I presume, well, I don't know. The exhaust would be the same, wouldn't it? The undercarriage would be the same.
Yeah.
You saying the wings will be different? The wings will be different, would they?
Yeah, because they're an E-wing.
I'm not sure actually, James. I think the Mark 9 did carry an E-wing because it was fitted with .50 caliber guns.
If you're looking at the it's done after war, they deleted the cannon.
Yeah, but that kit has got the cannons fitted to it. No, sorry, it hasn't. You're right.
No.
It's just got the .50s in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just trying to get a close up of the wing. It doesn't really show you, does it?
Well, the artist image on the box, there's no cannons on that wing.
No.
Well, that looks nice, doesn't it? That front end looks proper stunning.
It does
doesn't
look
it?
proper nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a completely new tool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's got to be a virtual completely new tool. There might be a few parts on the Mark 9 kit that they utilise the shapes for to integrate into the new tooling, but it's not a lot.
Interesting.
I think they've overdone the Zeus fasteners, to be honest, but
Yeah, I think they're overscale.
Yeah, they are a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
Travis, they did, Travis. You're right. They did. No, I'm just trying to think of the conversation. That was on in Airfix and Chill. Not Airfix and Chill. Did he say on the Airfix? I'm trying to think. Well, he said that on the Airfix and Chill when they announced it.
yeah, Val did, didn't he?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and listen. Well, you got better memory than I have, I tell you. But again, I'll just do the poll again. Would you buy the TR? Would you be buying this? Would you be ordering this TR9? Let's try that. See what the poll says.
Yeah.
Yes, no, start poll. There you go. Easy. So there's a poll there now. Tell me if you want to buy it or not. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Yeah, they did say. I just assumed that they had designed the Mark whatever and then just said, "Oh, why do we just make it to just add the extra fuselages and make it into a TR?" Because you had to do the 9 to do the TR, though, didn't you? In theory.
Well, they've got the Mark 9 in their CAD catalogue,
Yeah.
so it would be fairly straightforward for them to do.
There's a mode seam over the exhaust on the cowling, and those Zeus fasteners are OTT. Yeah, you can see it a little bit, can't you? There's a mode seam over the exhaust on the cowling.
When you blow it up a little bit. When you blow it up a little bit, it becomes more visible. I mean, the shape of that front end looks all right to me. That looks quite good.
I don't think those fasteners look too OTT to me. Do they to you? Does anyone else agree with that?
Okay, but here's the deal. If they're supposed to be Zeus fasteners, what they've done is they've replicated rivets. Two different things.
Yeah.
So, but what you see there is they look like rivet lines, and when there's no rivets there, because a Zeus fastener, you're going to have a circle, and then you're going to have inside that circle whatever receptacle for the tool that they use. A bit for over here, we'd say a blade or a Phillips head, across.
Yeah.
Go in and zip them open. And so, to me, I look at that and I see rivets. I don't even see Zeus fasteners. I don't know the Spitfire well enough to know that those are supposed to be Zeus fasteners. If they're supposed to be Zeus fasteners, then I would say, yeah, they blew it. And yeah, there's a huge, I don't know if it's like a slide mold line or something that Nigel pointed out on top of the cowl. But that I would give Airfix some leeway there, just because, hell, Mia and with their F4 and F14s have that in their kits. It's a few swipes with the stick and it's gone.
Yeah.
But it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You think the builder who built that kit could have done a slightly better job of the spinner?
Yeah, take him out and shoot him.
Do you know what though?
Beat him with sticks.
Well, yeah, you could say that he hasn't matted down the or glossed the transfers, because you can still see a line around the track. You can pick at these things, but
I mean, that's the other thing. That's the other thing about Spitfires, is that a lot of them were semi-polished, even in service. So they had a slight shine to them. Made them slightly faster.
Well,
Zinzad will agree with that.
I'm just counting the rivets here. Sorry.
Oh God, yeah.
yeah.
2007.
I have to use my special rivet counting.
Yeah.
I do apologise. I should have done that.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is 1/48 scale, right? So the actual size of that part is maybe 1.5 inches. You just blown it up on the screen so that I've seen it. It's about 6 inches across, about 4 times larger than actual size. I've just looked at an actual Spitfire Mark 9 cowling from 3 feet away. I think that's going to look spot on. And that's what it's designed for, right? It's for the average modeler to be able to put it together and produce a good result. If you're a super fascist detail person, you can and rescribe them and make them perfect. That's up to you. But I think for 25 quid, that's not a bad kit.
Is that what they're going for? 25 quid? I thought they were more.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, they're
the same price as a Bulldog.
It's the same with panel lines. Panel lines don't exist on aircraft in the way that they're represented on kits, because the kits are so that they catch washes, so they look visually at sort of a 3.5 feet range, give the impression of the shadows and the oil catch and all the rest of it. So for those kinds of things, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, Julian says the same. Agreed, Alex. At normal viewing distance looks fine. AFC Nugget, QQQ. In terms of detail, was Airfix getting into Edard territory? It's really difficult to answer that question when you use Edard, because they have been known to box other manufacturers' kits with their own. It's very difficult to say, oh, Edard bump, because sometimes you don't know what the plastic is inside the box. I don't know.
When was the last time Edward did that, and with what kit? Do we know? I can't remember, but
they've done it to a few.
I know. I guess my point being is, if they have, I think it was in the distant past. I can't remember the last time they did it. I don't know that they even do it anymore, because every Edward kit you see is drop dead gorgeous. And they do. They're 48 scale. They're single engine fighters. They're World War II fighters. I mean, that's all they do. And what I was going to jump in with earlier, it's all patterns. What the P40 when they just came out? What did they come out with first? It was the Royal kit with 2 kits and 10 to 15 markings and all the resin and photo etch you need for both kits. And they go hog wild. And then you buy the big one. They put the big one out there first, and then they come in with the Overtrees. So you can buy just nothing but the kit, so you can use up more of their decals if you want. Then they get it in a single kit with their photo etch, maybe 1 or 2 bits of resin. Then they come out with the weekend edition. That's the pattern they've followed for 10, 15 years now. So, but
they're producing very different types of kits, though, Jim. I mean, the appeal of a P39 in 48 scale, I think is a lot wider than a 1/32 scale Meteor. You know, the available market.
Right, but still, all I'm saying is other companies do what this company is doing with the Meteor. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll just the last time I know that Edard released a kit that wasn't their tooling was the L29 Delphin. That was last year.
Okay.
And I'm sure that was an Avid Garden kit. If somebody can refer to me on that in the comments, I'm sure it's a Profi pack.
They still do it a lot. They did the HK Models B17.
Yeah.
That was last year. So
and they
yeah,
also
they're still doing it.
riders from the Sky kit for Sasagawa.
But I think everybody knows that that's not their kit when they do something like that, because then they throw all their stuff in with it, and then you get the package deal.
I think we vastly overestimate people's knowledge in the field. I would say 19 out of 20 people that come into the shop, when I say, oh, that's actually not a Revell kit, and Revell are notorious doing that, they're like, oh, really? And it's like, no, that's a insert manufacturer here, because they Reeboks almost
usually an ICM kit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, Edward doing it with B25s, B24s, B17s, whatever. We in the community are going to know that, just because guess what? We know Edward doesn't do that. We know Edward does 1/48 scale World War II single engine fighters. That's their niche.
Yeah.
Everything else is all anything and all goes. And that's what I was referring to more than, I mean, that's just a given when you see something else other than what I just did with the 48 World War II single engine.
Didn't they rebox an Accurate Miniatures IL2 in 48?
They've done all sorts, mate. You can't, it's like I know the change they've done recently was quite good, because didn't Hobby 2000 bring out a MiG something? Was it a MiG 17?
No, it was probably the MiG 21 if it was an Edward one, because that's the other thing that they single engined World War II fighters, World War I stuff, and the MiG 21 for some reason.
Does Hobby 2000 do anything originally theirs, or are they?
No, Hobby 2000, if I'm right, is the new name for Bronco.
Oh, right.
I think a lot of Hobby 2000 kits were Bronco, and they released
a lot over Hasagawa.
Oh, so the Hobby 2000, they released a MiG. I can't remember which one it was, about 2 years ago, but the actual box said limited edition Edard parts, and in there was everything that Edard could throw at this MiG. Hobby 2000. Somebody could look it up for me. That'd be good.
Funny enough,
the gun barrels, the wheels. The gun barrels, the wheels. The mask set, the interior, and a set of. I'm thinking it was Czech Republic decals.
Well, this kit will have Nigel sweating bullets.
Yeah, what's that?
It's an Edard limited edition Hawker Typhoon.
Typhoon, was it?
Which is a Hasagawa kit.
As a Kawa kit. It's difficult. I do get, it's, you have to look at these things. But in the last 4 years, 5 years, I reckon there's a handful. But there's still a lot of Edard kits in shops that are all sorts of different plastic.
Well, if memory serves, isn't that how Edward really started getting into kits, by getting other kits and then they put their box to it, their aftermarket, and then they started doing that, and then they started doing their own toolings.
Yeah, because they started with photo etch, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was their niche. Is like they produced photo etch for basically anything.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sometimes out of register.
Yeah. So yeah, Edard, when they put their mind to it, they do some good stuff, over-engineered.
Excuse me.
But yeah, it's
If you're into that, then
It's also quite interesting that as an aftermarket company, they produce some of the hardest to work with decals in the world.
I think that's just unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. People have to come up with a new skill set just to apply them.
Yeah.
But I mean, Edward have, they started off with photo etch and detail sets and details, and they're actually now tooling stuff. And yeah, getting other people's stuff in, improving it, boxing it all together, now actually tooling their own, original stuff.
Yeah.
That's really good. I think that's a good development. If you look at Hobby 2000, I mean, they're just a Polish reboxing. They haven't made anything original at all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
I don't know where Bronco came in though, Moss, because they're a Chinese manufacturer. So
I think Hobby 2000 have reboxed a lot of Bronco kits.
Ah, I see.
And
Yeah, but they've reboxed a lot of everybody's kits.
Yeah, I know that, but I was under the impression that when you don't see Bronco anymore, though, do you?
Yeah, Bronco's still
Well,
making it.
they're releasing new stuff, are they?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I thought they went pop.
Was
And
it
I
just
believe
a year or two ago? Probably more, maybe longer, probably longer. I can't remember, but they did that like aerial refueling set. They had like the carts, and they had like the bags or whatever, and I don't know. Or maybe I'm thinking Gecko models too. So many manufacturers, I get mixed up.
Yeah.
Bronco make a lot of Chinese stuff. Like last year, they released a Z8KA helicopter.
Yeah.
Chinese helicopter, which is goddamn ugly.
Mm.
Obviously derived from some original Soviet design that they've changed.
I maybe was
about the bush, Alex. Sorry, don't beat about the bush, Alex. Say what you mean.
Yeah, right. Sure.
They specialize in ugly subjects. They also did the Krots, the KF70, which is not the prettiest vehicle in the world.
Right up there with the horse, isn't it?
Perhaps that's their niche. They look at what can we do. It's like the Spitfire. No, that's far too pretty. The Mustang. No. The Helix helicopter. Yeah, that's what we want.
Two comments I've got here. Comment in terms of accuracy. I think Airfix and all manufacturers are improving. The difference these days is more the QC, the availability, and the after-sales support. Good shout. Edard reboxed the 172nd Armour Hobby Hurricane. What did they? What, the newest one? They didn't do the new one, did they?
That was a Reebox.
That was a Reebok.
Edward are actually quite a good Edward are actually quite a good source of my mate Edward. Actually, quite a good source of things that you can't get hold of through the original manufacturer if they're no longer available. It's worth checking them out.
Travis has said that as well. Hobby 2000 do a good job getting the best Hasegawa kits back on the market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, there's it's just one of them really. It was just I know that a lot of people, a lot of manufacturers, like I was saying, with Hobby 2000, they released that. I think it was a MiG 15, if I'm right, and it's Hobby 2000 MiG 15. I think it was a Bronco kit inside it, and they piled it high, full of Edard stuff, and it was all Edard. It clearly says Edard aftermarket on it, and I think that's what Edard wanted to do. I think, but they like I said, when I think if Edard wanted to, they could get hold of the what was that Airfix kit that they released? 148.
Lightning.
Was it not the Lightning? It was the Beaufort. If they did aftermarket and stuff for that would be a kit that Edard would rebox and put their own stuff in. That Beaufort, such a good kit.
You're right about the MiG 15 Moss, they actually put on the but they did what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reboxings of it,
Yeah.
including a load of limited edition ones. They actually say with Edward parts on the front of the box.
Yeah.
So they actually make a big thing of it.
Yeah. That when was that though? There was that 2000. Was that in 2022? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, it's about that.
Yeah. So it does come out there, but then again, Edard is Edard. They do their own thing. And if you want to see who's one of the most prolific manufacturers on scale mates, look up the word Edard, and it could be full of resin, photo etch, accessories, blah blah blah. It's incredible what they've done. And I don't know how they make money from it either. You know what I mean? It's like how many? You know what I mean? Surely it must cost money to get photo etch and have it all painted and everything. And but they've got it for every model. It's like, oh, we do that. But there's always something that Edard will do for a kid. What's of it?
They do a lot of it in house. That's why they make decals in house. That's why a lot of people aren't liking them right now.
Yeah, exactly. Don't Bronco Dash do armor? No, they don't, because they do space as well. They have a space launch system that I've tried to get hold of, and I can't get hold of one in this country. They do a space launch vehicle, and I can't. I've tried to find it. Hannons don't have it. I'm trying.
It's much like was it Julian brought up? Availability is a big thing. It's like Bronco kits around, trying to get them. That's another thing.
Yeah, you try and get hold of it. So anyway, so TR9. Let's have a quick look at the poll on the TR9. We'll stop that now and click the button. End poll. Wow, that does surprise me. Only 43% of you are going to buy that TR9.
I have it on pre-order now.
I roughly have.
Yeah. Sorry, Zinzan, you got it on pre-order?
I have, yeah. As soon as I knew it was out there, I put it on pre-order.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
All right, John. Do you want to mute yourself as well?
Yes.
Last time we had a conversation with you. You were talking, we were responding, you can hear us. That does surprise me. Only 43% of you are looking at buying that as 69 votes. So why is that then? Doesn't appeal to you, or is it just it's another Spitfire?
I think it's a niche kit, isn't it, Moss?
Yeah. But everyone's been asking for one, haven't they? Come on.
Well, I mean,
how many people
they've had these flight experiences going on this year and last year, haven't they? Maybe the right time to release it. I don't know.
Well, what are you saying?
There's 8 of us in here. Of the 8 people in here, who's going to buy that kit?
Me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
So
50%. So the poll's not far up, is it?
No.
This I'm going to build it. I just said I said I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to say I'm going to build it.
No, I will assemble it. I will put it together.
Yeah.
Moz's doesn't count because he buys everything. Every Airfix comes out.
Which version are you going to do? Then you're going to do the Irish one?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
I'll probably do up one of the bulky ones, probably with maybe do it with the invasion stripes or something like that.
Yeah,
just a bit of fun, because I could swear a lot putting invasion stripes down. That if I fancy swearing, that's what I'll do.
That's a good shout, Julian. In my opinion, more companies should do add-on sets for standard vehicles, such as sets for Hobart's funnies and various World War II RAF radar countermeasure sets. Wow.
Yeah.
I think there's only a pot. There's only a certain amount in the pot. That's what I think. And to develop all these things costs money.
I think there's a distinctly good chance of that kind of thing appearing via the good offices of those who program and use 3D printers. I think that's where that part of the market is going to expand. And
Yeah.
when you see things like that Miles M52 you mentioned last week, which I have now bought in 1/48, and these are the sort of short production run things that back in the day the old vac form boys used to tool up for, and you'd get these small things. 3D printing is going to make this sort of stuff much more available, particularly as the market develops, and I fancy it's going to develop really quite quickly. And for a 1/48 kit, this M52 has 28 parts. You know, it's a tiny part count, but what you get is something that's probably going to look pretty good in the hands of a proper modeler, unlike some numpty like me. In the hands of a proper modeler, it looked very, very good, I think. So that's where the add-on bits and pieces are going to come from, I think. You know, someone who's minded can put together 2 or 3 Hobart's funnies, and they'll sell them quite well. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how expensive 3D printing can get, though. It just as well.
It's the thing with new technology is at the start it's always expensive. So when you think about, I was working for Samsung when the first plasma TVs came in, and they had I think a 34-inch plasma TV that came into the country, and it retailed at £28,000, and this was, I don't know, 1999, 2000, something along that line. Within 5 years, they were a fraction of that price.
Yeah.
And now you can pick up an LCD screen telly for what?
100
quid, you know?
Less than that.
And
so
it's because the early adopters, there you go. It's because the early adopters buy these things and develop them that in 5 years' time, you'll be able to buy a very high quality 3D printer. And if you can use things like Fusion and those sort of things, I'm treading on Alex's territory here, I think, to some extent. But if you can use Fusion, you'll be able to build your own kits without any problem at all. And I think you had some guy on here that did 3D printing a year or so back, I think. And
Dave,
he said much the same thing, I think, and I agree with that. And so I'm quite interested by how the 3D printing market will develop, because it's more.
I'm not convinced by it, to be honest, but I
know that's the case, and it's. I was skeptical about it when I first got the kit, but I think that I'm going to be interested to see how that goes, because there's a lot of aircraft out there, particularly that Airfix and Tamir and all the rest of them, they wouldn't even think about tooling up for, because it's just not worth it. A 3D print of something, once you've got the design, you've got it for all time then.
But that's the design that costs the time. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's,
you're right.
If you speak to that REVELL kit, for instance, that METEOR, they've been banging it around now for 3 years. All right, they dropped the F4, but they would have had some of the design done at F4. They would have to do a lot to change it to the F8 or the FR9. Let's be honest here. But it's taken them 3 years to really develop that CAD imagery and everything and get the tooling done. But as you say, people say, "Oh, we've got these 3D scanners now," but 3D scanners only gives you a point of reference. You still, but I'm well.
You're right about what you're saying. I agree with you.
The thing is with 3D printing is that
absolutely right. Sorry, Alex. Go on, mate.
No, go on, Luke.
Zinzan's absolutely right. At the moment, very much in its infancy, expensive. However, when any technology is new, it has its limitations. It's not that user friendly, and it's expensive. But in 5-10 years' time, and to the point about a 3D scanner, Who would have thought 10 years ago that your smartphone could scan a 3D image, albeit badly?
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have even been able to do that 10 years ago. So in 10 years' time, that technology is not going to stop. It's not going to stop developing and becoming. I predict that in 20 years' time, the majority of people in this hobby of scale modeling across all genres
We'll be dead.
predominantly 3D printed.
Yeah.
And the old school hates it, but that's like, oh, we need more World War II vehicles to put next to World War II aircraft. People aren't building as much World War II anymore. They're building Cold War. They're building more recent subjects because it captures their imagination, and that's where it will come into its own. Absolutely. But at the moment, it's limited and it's expensive.
You've got the limit.
Memory. John, wait one minute, Alex.
Actually, I'm going to take a slightly counterpoint to that on a couple of things. So 3D printing has been around since the 70s. I'm talking about 3D printing, SLA printing, the resin printing. It actually came up before FDM. And it's gone leaps and bounds. Over the last 5 years, it's got really cheap in terms of the printers you can buy, in terms of the resin and the resolution. We're kind of butting up against some technological barriers now, which are physics limited, not technology limited necessarily. The thing that you can't get away from is it's messy. Now, you really need a different type of technology or step change to make it consumer grade. So that something like laser printing, right? I've got a laser printer sitting in front of me, which costs a couple of £100. You know, it's full color. 20 years ago, that would have been like $8,000.
Yeah.
Now I can print decals and stuff. Anybody has access to that. How many people here print decals?
Me.
No.
That's 1, 2 out of 8.
Never printed decals.
No.
You know, it's accessible to all of us, but nobody does.
Black magic, I tell you.
Well, because it's easy, because there are lots of extra, decals available on the market. They're reasonably priced. You get a load, and blah 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 blah. Also, the companies produce a lot and do good stuff. So, in terms of technology, injection molding it hits a number of key points. It's really cheap. It's fast. So it's accessible to companies to make profit on all that kind of stuff. 3D printing, even with a lot of changes in technology, is unlikely to be able to compete with that long term. So that's one thing. Also, it requires a different set of skills, different glues and stuff. If you think about resin casting, really good detail sets have been around since the 90s. Half resin. A lot of people don't like using them because it's resin, right? Because it's a different thing. It requires super glue, it requires epoxy or whatever. So different set of things. So it's accessible, it's available, it's relatively affordable. But people still don't necessarily use it. And a lot of people still don't like to use photo etch, and it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So if it's available in kit form and it's accessible and cheap, you can do that. The only other bit I was going to say is World War II subjects are actually more popular now than they were over the past 70 years. And I only know this because I'm about to do a video. Do you know how many releases there were of the BF 109 in the last 10 years?
Yeah, maybe. But we're talking about now. I'm saying in 20 years, I predict different.
So I can tell you, Luke, since 1946, the Spitfire has increased in popularity every single year. The BF 109 increased in popularity. Well, not every year, every decade. It's a linear relationship.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Modern
but will that
subjects,
be the case in 20 years' time?
well, there isn't any data to support another hypothesis at the moment.
Can I just say, Luke, I understand where you're coming from, and I do get that. In 20 years' time, is it? But do kids really know what the difference between a Typhoon and a Eurofighter is, because the kids know the difference between a Spitfire and a Hurricane.
Yeah.
Now,
Do they?
yeah, I couldn't believe it. When I spoke
maybe
to
the
my
ones that are doing flight sims and stuff in video games.
Yeah.
That's how they learn.
yeah, there's no when you got World of Warcraft, World of War, what's it called, the game one,
Minecraft.
War Thunder.
War
War
Thunder.
Thunder, that's the one.
The tank one.
I
Yes.
can't believe how many kids were playing that.
Yeah.
World of Tanks, and in World of Tanks they have Spitfires and stuff.
World
So
of
Yeah.
Warship.
Yeah, they do World of Warplanes as well, don't they? Where they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Armour.
most of the games is like I grew up with, Medal of Honor, and in there they had the planes like the Spitfire, the Hurricane, the P-51D and stuff.
Yeah.
It's whatever happens, it just seems to regurgitate itself a lot more. And if you're saying that the popularity's like this going on forwards, if you're saying that if it's still going on now for 80 years after when they first flew, and still
Yeah.
Spitfire is known throughout the land.
Yeah.
At the Torbay show, everyone was talking about that Spitfire that went
Yeah,
around.
but
The
what
one
was
that's
the demographic at that show?
like kids to adults. It's Torbay
Was
model.
it?
It's Torbay
Was it?
Torbay plane air show.
It was a weird thing. Like last,
Okay, so
not
what's
last
the
year,
most
but the year before.
video game influencers and influence on young people? What's the most popular war-themed platform currently? Video games. What is it?
Oh, it's the shoot 'em ups, isn't it?
Call of Duty.
Combat Links.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
But isn't that because it's the latest
20
game?
years' time, the influence isn't video game manufacturers, if we're talking about that as an influencing factor on people's knowledge base and what's familiar to them, it won't be what we grew up with. It will be what they grew up with,
Yeah.
which is modern warfare.
But Luke, just on the flip side, I see your point. But if at the moment they're doing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, what if Call of Duty's next project is Call of Duty Normandy?
They
And
won't. They've already done it.
They've
Well,
always
whatever
done.
one, they're just saying World War II wise. If they
They've
go
already
back,
done all the World War II
they've done all the World
They
War
did
II.
that
They
in
haven't
the
done-
90s.
They haven't done
They did
anything
that
from
in
the
the
Great
90s.
War,
That's
have
what
they?
we grew up with.
But maybe with all the technology that's happening now, they will revisit that and start it all over again. That's
Do you
what I'm
think
trying
they'll
to.
ever do? Do you think they'll ever do a Call of Duty World War One?
No. Because people and kids, so your average person that plays Call of Duty, for example, from the age of about, 13, 14 up into adulthood, predominantly male, but not exclusively. They don't want to play the character of someone sat in a trench in World War One.
No.
What they want to do is they want to play the character of someone sat in a trench on the Ukrainian border with a drone, with modern weapon systems and all that, because that's what they're seeing on the news.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. And it just is. And now I agree. I build World War II stuff all the time because I have an interest in it. I'm currently building a Panzer IV because I have an interest in the technology of that time and what went on. However, in 20 years' time, is that interest going to be there, or is someone going to want to build a T-72 with a drone, etc., etc.? That's where it will change, and that's where 3D printing will come into its own. Because if people bear in mind, we weren't taught CAD at school. Now Alex is the exception. Alex is a scientist, so this sort of technology and everything else he knows about. That's his profession. That's his work in life. The exception doesn't disprove the rule. The rule for most people is they don't know how to use CAD if they're over the age of 30. They don't know how this technology works, me included.
Yeah.
However, there are 10-year-olds now, the majority of 10-year-olds, that are being taught CAD. So all of a sudden, you start to open up this stream of talent, this stream of skills that people don't, our age and above, they've got no idea. I've got no idea how to design things on CAD. Someone tried to teach me once. It was an absolute disaster. But there are people now that are being taught this as national curriculum education.
Yeah.
Because AI is another example. How many times did we see last month or the month before people taking a picture of their built model, putting it through an AI app, and all of a sudden the figures are talking to each other and the vehicles are moving?
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was great.
Yeah.
But very much in its infancy, isn't it? This technology and the world of technology is very much in its infancy. And I appreciate what you're saying, Alex. 3D printing has been around since the 70s. Yeah. But for the majority in the 70s, they had no clue that this stuff existed. Now, you can spend £200 on Amazon and have a resin printer in your house.
Go on, Jim. What are you saying?
So, as the resident old guy here, yeah, I had no idea 3D printing existed, and I'm a child of the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s, and then I off to the working world. I had no idea. I had no idea 3D printing, 3D CAD, any of that. Okay, until about what? 10 years ago when they had the real plastic things that would print. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's new. No, been around for however long. It wasn't, I would say, commercially available. Now, boom, here come resin printers printing with light or with however voodoo magic that does it, you know. But you had talked earlier about, and I'm old enough to remember 3 years ago when the big question was, is 3D printing going to replace injected molding kits? Not in the near term, but who knows what the 20, 30 years down the road brings when kids that aren't even people, that aren't even here yet, become people, and they're going to look at this stash and go, well, why would you spend 3 months building and painting something when I can hit the print button and I can go out with some spray paint it and play with it or whatever?
Yeah.
It may just be an eventuality that it happens. Case in point, here we go. 3 shows ago, I said, hey, anybody got an AFE Club M58 mine clearing trailer out there? Let me know. I want one. On the discussion group the other day, in one of the groups, whatever, somebody was posted the picture asking for the same exact thing. I'm like, great. Now this guy's looking for one, you know? So what happens? 3 posts down, somebody goes, oh, you can get one on Colts 3D for $15. Calling my IT tech son, it's 21, and I was like, dude, help print this, do this. And yeah, we downloaded it, and then he had to put it in the computer, then he had to slice it and get rid of the islands and do all this tech stuff that I have no idea how to do. And yeah, maybe this weekend he printed it for me. And I've got one for $15 as opposed to an old resin 20-year-old kit that's $150.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool. It's in its, like everybody's saying, it's in its infancy. If you're making parts, you're making small things. Who knows what the future may be?
I just, my only concern with it all is that when it comes to, say, something like injection molded, there's been all the research, there's been designers on it, and they've gone in, sorted the tool out, done the test prints. When you get that box come through, that's it. When it comes to 3D printing, there is no actual ownership of the file. Once it's out there, you're not going to make money from it. Is anybody really going to spend? You ask Pramjit how long it takes him to research, design, build, create.
Necessity is the mother of invention. So somebody is going to spend the time out there because they want that part, and they're going to draw it, and they're going to have what they want. And if they can make a few bucks on the side, if somebody else wants it, fine.
Okay, they're going to have ownership of it.
It's like,
but they don't care. That's my point. They got there. You know, they're not money at it. And again, necessity is the mother of invention. So therefore, in 20 years, when printers are a dime a dozen and technology is all there, is the old traditional companies, are they going to be pushed out because there's no supply and demand? There's no demand for their product anymore because everybody can get on and do what they do online. You know,
right. Necessity, invention is born of necessity. So we can all remember, we're all of an age here where we can remember when CDs were first commercially available, DVDs were first commercially.
Yeah, absolutely.
These cannot be copied. I think you'll find that someone invented something that makes so no one had owned it. You go and spend £12 on a DVD, genuine DVD from HMV that doesn't really exist anymore, blah 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 blah. You go and buy it, but someone somewhere has figured out how to make a really good copy of it. So
it's like
they're selling it on the black market for £4 or whatever. It's no different. You go onto AliExpress, Temu, so you buy a proper sculpted and cast resin figure. You'll probably pay upwards of £15 for one figure, a genuine figure that someone has taken the time to sculpt and everything else, and that money goes to the artist, which is absolutely right. However, you go onto AliExpress, Temu, any of they're copied in their thousands and sold for £2-3 each. They're not as good, nowhere near as good.
That sounds so bad.
There are problems, but someone is still copying it, and that's not an STL file. That's an app, a physical object. People will always copy stuff. But Tim's right. The original manufacturer doesn't care because they've already got their money.
Can I just point out, Sam here did a super chat. Thank you, Sam. Helps with the channel and paying for this software. There's a Battlefield World War I version, which is the most popular out of the past three releases. World War I, World War II, and 2042. World War II is second, and 2042 is third for players.
Yeah, so on that particular platform.
I was going to say before, Luke, I don't agree with your premise because
we're allowed to disagree, and if in 20 years' time, if we're still around,
my son's a big gamer. If you look at, and he would say exactly the same thing. The most modern ones, like the modern warfares that have gone into the future, all of the gamers hate them. They say they're shit, right? Because it's like all made up and stuff. The ones they like are like Counter-Strike. The ones like you say that are modern day, but the World War I one was super popular. The World War II. If you look at things like IL-2, if you that's World War II flight sim, DCS, all of the World War II.
Yeah, but they're very niche.
They are, but modeling is niche as well. These are the same people, right? So are they interested? People interested in militaria, what are they interested in? They're not just interested in, like the Ukraine, what's happening now. They're not just interested in F-35s. We're interested in gear, right? I don't own a gun. I will probably never own a gun. I don't think I could point a gun at somebody and kill them unless it was, really for my life. I couldn't do it for a living, I don't really like the concept of them, but they look cool. I would make models of guns. It's the same with a lot of military and stuff, right? So it's like, I think if you're in this niche, do World War II things appeal? Yeah, and there's a huge variety of them. Why do people not do lots of F-35s now? It's the most prevalent aircraft. It'll be around for decades. But people, it's just one thing, right? There's a few little iterations. But look at World War II. There's hundreds of different things. There's a mad design. So it's that variety. And if I see people, I take the shop demographic, and I'm talking younger people now, so under, like 18 and under, and my own personal thing of like, there's two different things. So the younger people, what are they modeling? It's World War II stuff. I'm kind of me surprised. I asked a couple of years ago at the Telford Nationals, a group young group of guys coming out. I said, "Do you mind if I ask you a question? What have you bought?" Because they're all carrying big bags. One of them had a Cold War aircraft. All the rest of them was World War II stuff. And it was just like, I expected there to be, a bunch of F-18s and Hornets and stuff, but no, it wasn't. Same with the people in the shop, and I don't know where that comes from. I can't explain that.
Can't explain it.
I agree.
It's a phenomenon.
100% at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Pablo
I don't think that will be the case in 20 years' time.
But didn't they say this 20 years ago? Oh, World War II will be done. We'll be doing Cold War stuff, and still Cold War stuff is not really coming through as much as
20 years ago and 30 years ago, they were saying that video games were going to kill this hobby.
Yeah.
In
fact,
same with resin printing, right? Because I love 3D printing. As John knows, we both did 3D printed nozzles for our F-15s when we got that kit.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think parts and things work really well. Why don't I have a 3D printed King Tiger and stuff, made of like 5 parts and things? For me, and I think this is extrapolation, the same reason those kids buy stuff in the shop, it's the satisfaction of making something, right? A 3D printed 4-part thing, it's like you print it and you play with it kind of thing. It doesn't do anything. I don't use 3D printed decals on models for exactly the same reason, because I have no agency in that. Yeah, I could weather them a bit and stuff, but I haven't painted them, so I haven't created what that is. So for me, it doesn't have me in it. So it's like, well, it would be like giving a model to somebody else and say, could you just build this for me and give it back? Which some people do, and that's fine. It's just not for me personally. And I think if you're a modeler and get your pleasure from making, I don't think that's one of the reasons they won't, that 3D printing won't displace injection molding long term.
One thing I will say, when you talk about all that we've been talking tonight, when, for instance, with the computer game side of things, it will destroy this hobby. In fact, it's bringing more people to the hobby. If you look at World of Tanks, for instance, most of it that's been brought out by Italiari, however you say it, is all World War II. The Panther, the Tiger, everything that's been boxed by them under World of Tanks, Shermans, Chaffees, Leopard in there, so that must be a later one. There's something going on amongst these games, or there's been a resurgence, I guess.
Yeah.
Of what's going. They are starting to, decide. But when it comes to battles, we always talk. One of the such a thing is, we had, we hear about these battles of World War II. I don't hear many battles from Cold War.
No.
So I can't associate myself to the Cold War as much as I can associate myself to World War One, World War II, bit of Vietnam. Where they call it battles, don't they? And I don't get a lot of that with Cold War. But then, to me, a lot of the Cold War stuff was you take an inch, I take a mile, or I'm taking my mile, giving that mile back. A lot of
space race was.
Yeah.
Space
a lot of
race.
political. Yeah.
There's a reason why it's a Cold War. There's not a lot of shooting going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there were any battles, we wouldn't remember them because there'd just be a one big one.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Moz, I'll tell you this: your name that you use on his the MOS 6510 chip that was in the Commodore 64, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The most popular game on that was called Combat Links.
Combat Links.
Yeah. When was that?
That was back in the very early 80s.
1986.
Just prove my point.
Cutting edge technology, Luke.
Yeah, it was then. It was then. No doubt about it. And Emma's just echoed in the chat what Jim has said. The Cold War wasn't a shooting war. So certainly from a video games point of view, it's quite dull, isn't it? That era of between sort of the end of the Second World War to now, it's quite dull because there wasn't much shooting going on. So from an interactive, as a player, that's quite dull. However, what you need to remember is that in the last 20 years, there's been a lot of battles. a lot. However, most of them are still classified.
Yeah.
That's why you don't know about them.
Okay.
But in the next 25 years, when that classification level drops, people will start telling the stories. They will start recounting these battles. And that's, I think, when you'll see, because that will still be in living memory for a lot of people. Their dad might have gone to Iraq. Their dad might have gone to Afghanistan. Their granddad even by that stage. So it's in living memory.
My grandfather was responsible for shooting shit at Charnel, wasn't he? So
all of a sudden isn't in living memory anymore. You know, because there's no one left of those generations that could recount and remember those historical events. No one can. And so time will move on. And then instead of people wanting to build a 109, what they'll want to build then is a Harrier, or they'll want to build, you know, more stuff that's in living memory because their dad might have serviced the engines on a Harrier, or their granddad would have flown one, or whatever it may be. So I know it's an unpopular opinion because it will change the face of the hobby. It will change the face of what we all love, but it will change.
But Luke, at the end of the day, we had this discussion when Dale was on Airfix and Chill, when we talked about the Operation
And
Herrick.
Airfix don't want it to change either.
No, but I'm just saying with the Operation Herrick stuff, we all said at the time it was way before its time.
Yeah, it was.
Give it another couple of years, and also, dare I say it, the Afghan war nobody fucking wanted. We all think it was.
Well, let's not get onto that subject, dude.
Just saying, I'm more proud of what was happening with the people in World War II.
Give that man a cigar.
Than the politicians sending out to an sanctified.
All that tells me is you don't understand why.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
But I think maybe that's I mean, Luke, I think Luke's point's excellent actually, and you know, it's quite possible. But I also think what Moss has just said is like maybe it is because there is the World War II is very clearly taught as it's a battle of right and wrong.
Yeah.
Right. There was an evil empire. Very easily it's the Star Wars thing, right? There's an evil empire, and it's the plucky people who defend it, and everybody can associate with that. Whereas if you look at a lot of the conflicts since then, Vietnam was a cluster F. You know, Korea was a bit murky. Lots of the wars in between have been all a bit shady. Like you say, a lot of the details haven't been released. The Gulf War, politically was, the oil question came into it, and some people see it clearly, some people don't. Ukraine, is fairly clear, but we live in a different age, so it's like the social media and it's also trench warfare. Yeah. It's not particularly interesting, if that's a terrible word to use about a current conflict, but so I don't know, maybe it's because the association of, well, I can identify with the goodies and the baddies rather than it's all a bit grey,
Yeah, and people being people and the way our brain works for most is they like that black and white. Yeah. The enemies are over there. These are the good guys. The good guys are going to go and stop the bad guys. We like that. That's why people watch cop shows and true crime and the bad guys versus the good guys, etc. But that's changed. It really is.
We all like black and white in a world of grey.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I've been devil advocate about it because, like I said, I know so much about World War II because I love watching World War II documentaries, but then again, that new Osama bin Laden documentary came out on Netflix last week. Absolutely, I never knew some of the stuff that was going on there, what the CIA were doing, trying to find him. The Manhunt is called. I love all that. I love it all. I really do. I didn't realize, half the stuff that was going on, that they let one guy in that they thought they were going to turn, and they blew him up. He came back and blew 7 of them up. They're through the gate. They didn't even look at his car. They were just blindfolded that he might be able to turn him, and he goes and blows him up. How incredible. But as I said, I think you're right. I just feel that that if it's with 3D printing and all that's going on, I can't see where people will make money from 3D printing, but I can see how manufacturers will continue to make money with very well researched, well designed, accurate fuselages that haven't got little lines on it that you have to sand out. That's the thing of it. Cast is a bit different, but then cast isn't very nice to you.
I'll say one word, Mosh, just to quickly interrupt you.
Yeah.
One word, res kit.
Yeah.
Look at their 3D printed catalog and holy crap. I mean, but they're not doing kits yet. they're like 3/4 of the way there on an A7. They print so much for that.
Yeah.
Kit. But who knows? There's rumors that they're talking about getting into the kit. So maybe that's going to be the breakthrough. We've always been saying, are they have it? Well, who knows? And everything that we've been talking about here, it's just supposition as far as well, why? Well, none of it really knows why. It's probably everything that we've talked about is why things are going.
So it's just evolution of the hobby. That's all it is, and the hobby will always be niche, as Alex said. It's never going to be mainstream, ever, which is the attraction for a lot of people, me included.
It was mainstream. I know you're talking 1950s, 60s, 70s. It was
because there was nothing else.
Yeah. But
The
then
hobby
knitting,
is up against it.
but then knitting and crocheting and cross stitch, things like that, they're all making a resurgence, mate. They're all coming back.
Are they though? In the way that video games and TikTok and apps and all this stuff is making.
But it's not a competition in that
No,
perspective.
it isn't a competition. But if I say to a 10-year-old now, what would you rather do? Would you rather sit here for the next 2 months and put this model kit together, regardless of subject? And I'm going to teach you all these skills and all these physical skills about how to deal with seam lines and how to use an airbrush and all this stuff. Or do you want to play Fortnite? What do you think most 10-year-olds are going to say?
But no 10-year-old was ever presented with that question, Luke. I mean, as a younger child, I remember, which is probably one of my earliest memories, so probably 6, 7, painting an Airfix kit where the paint mixed with the glue on the seams, because it was put together in probably 15 minutes, painted and played with. It was so you had glue and paint on your fingers, because my dad did it, and I wanted to do stuff like my dad, and it was a toy, so it's just like all those hits. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to compete against TikTok, absolutely not. But if a child has an interest in something physical,
at that time, when you were that age, all this stuff that now is available to the mainstream wasn't.
Plus, now the kids are having kids. The video game kids are having kids, they're playing video games with their kids,
and you love it because it's what your dad did.
Right.
So the video game kids that do video gaming are now having kids. What's their kid going to want to do with their dad?
Yeah, so they play video games. But then that loops around to, hey, are we playing War Thunder? Oh, hey, I can have a model of that tank. Oh, hey, how cool! And they'll get into that, or they're playing World of Warships or whatever, or like my kid.
Can I make a suggestion? This is for Dow and Airfix. Send some Airfix kits, starter sets to Prince Louis.
Yeah.
He loves planes. He's absolutely enchanted by planes. Because I
think he's going to be in the Air Force.
Can I just also say that I was an avid gamer right the way through Commodore 64, I've had the PS1s, the PS2s, then beer, tits came in, having to earn money, and the games disappeared. I actually found focus in wanting to better my life by earning money. And it's only until I got back into it in my 30s, because after I got the house, got the car, had the kids, and realized that in an evening I wanted to do something, and I bought this 1/4 scale REVELL starter set, built that, and I thought I remember doing this, and I've gone back into it again.
You grew up.
I grew up.
Refined. You appreciated the finer things in life. You slowed
And when I'm
down
saying,
a little bit.
but what I'm saying is that when I was a kid, it was all about space and cars. I was building lorries and stuff. You know, it's only now that I build Spitfires. I'm crap with planes. I just see. I like what I know they look like, but I don't know all the parts to them. But I enjoy building.
You do the undercut John backwards on Spitfire.
Yeah. Shut your face, you. Shut up. The instructions said it, so I followed the instructions. So bugger off. But what I'm trying to get is, you go out of the game. There is a point when you watch a game. You know, when I think I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and I killed a bloke, and I ended up putting concrete over him, burying him, and putting concrete over him. And I was like, this isn't edifying. Actually, and that was the last time I played a game, GTA 5, I think it was. And I went off and started building models. I kind of grew out of the game. I think games do get boring. I think
But again, the exception doesn't disprove the rule.
But Luke, if that was the case, if the rule was, you have this generation, it's like, because I was the same as Moss. I dropped modeling. I was into computers. I used to do coding. I was, all of that. Went to buy stuff with money from my, shop job and all that kind of thing. Hits, booze, drink, all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of the off chance, did a Matchbox kit later on when I had a job and everything. It scratched an itch that all those other things didn't.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's the same with the people that come into the shop today. I got a lot of people in their late 20s, early 30s coming in. Oh, I used to do this, just looking at getting back to it, or, that saw people do it during COVID. So you do have this, and it is people with a creative bent. Again, that niche. Yeah. I mean, talking about crochet, John Alex's daughter, Celine, has a crochet channel. Yeah. On TikTok and YouTube. It's a vehicle for displaying, something which has been around for God knows how long. There's probably more people doing crochet now than there were in the 70s, which is bizarre. But in the 70s, like you say, there wasn't a lot else to do. The demographic was smaller. It's the same with modeling. There's more people modeling now than ever before, but it's not mainstream. There's more people. It's different things. It's different demographics. And I agree with you. The hobby will evolve. I don't actually care what medium it is. If it's 3D printed kits and they're easy to do and you can use reasonable cement and stuff, I would do that. I'm not wedded to a particular thing. I just don't see that happening in the near future. Maybe it will. I think the hobby will always evolve, but I don't think it will go away.
No, I don't think it will go away, but I think it will evolve. That's exactly what I'm saying. In 20 years, the hobby's going to look very different to it does today.
Yeah, people are learning to monetize 3D printing. That is why this stuff is being sold. There's no other reason than that. It is being monetized. And
monetization of 3D printing is really hard.
Yeah. I get this free from Airfix. I finally got it printed this week. It's fantastic. It's my own UFO. Brilliant.
It may be hard, but...
Did you do that on your printer, Moz?
Yeah, on my Humbrol filament printer. Did I shite?
I'm going to have to cancel that article I just wrote where I referenced you then, because you've obviously done something with it.
No, I haven't. I've done nothing with it. No.
Never mind.
This somebody done it for me. Who's got a 3D printer. That now I want that 3D printer. I want to buy that 3D printer, and I want it now.
Yeah. I'll say this.
Have to add a note on to the end of it then.
Everything is cyclic. I've said it for years. Everything goes in cycles. Everything. Yeah. And what's the age-old saying? What's new is old again. Crocheting, in the 70s, 50 years later, hey, it's back. So yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And some people can't be bothered to build a scale model kit. They rather play football. They rather ride a bike. They rather, but as I mean, who would have thought that when I first started doing YouTube, that the amount of people who watch my videos, one of my videos has got 300,000 views, whatever it is. And they must be all scale modelers around the world.
Is that where you're in your broom cupboard, boss?
Yeah, up in the attic.
Yeah.
So
They could be fetishists.
That's quite funny. The humble printer will be on Antiques Roadshow in 2018, worth a mint. Only used once.
It might be on Antiques Roadshow in 2080. It won't be worth a mint. Well, maybe
it'd be worth a polo.
You can eat.
And an imperial mint.
Yeah, I'll give you a treat.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a good example of the way things change. If I said to you, Moss, 20 years ago over a coffee over there in Columpton, look, in 20 years' time, Moss, you'll make a video film of you doing something in your attic and 300,000 people will watch it. What would you have said? You'd have said, not going to happen.
Not a chance.
Exactly.
Maybe about 30 people, but 300,000.
Do you know what, though? In all the communities I've been in, when it comes to scale modeling, I was in a massive coding forum years ago, and the hate you would get if you get one thing wrong in it, or you scratch something. You don't get that so much in this one, do you? It was more of an encouragement in this one.
Not a bit of it. Not a bit of it.
I think it's more encouragement. I've seen some models where they've not mixed the paint with water and they've used the humble acrylics. And it's not, it's not like, we don't go for the jugular. It's what a fantastic effort. You've done that really well. Can I make a suggestion? You know what I mean? But you don't see that in a lot of other hobbies. And I think we need to maintain that. And that's what will keep people carrying on, because your first kit's always going to be your worst kit. And the more you do it, the better you become. But that's with any artistic form or medium or whatever, But yeah, I couldn't believe the amount of people that wanted to watch my videos. I still can't now. You can watch a fat bloke here, putting two bits of plastic together. There's other better websites out there, isn't there?
Two people. Yeah. And Angie Sparrow.
You have a just like everybody here that makes content. You have your own unique style, and there's something in this world for everyone. Look at John Alec. They play John Alec to people who want to think they're cool because he's cool.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, he says, be well. And everyone thinks, I wish I was like John Alec. He's brilliant.
Yeah. Cool.
He's the easy rider of modelling.
There you go. You've got it. Absolutely.
He's got the sexual chocolate of voices, says John.
Yeah, he's our voiceover man. He is.
Yes.
We all bring something unique to the table, right? So
exactly.
The same dish, right? We all have our own individual things. Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, it's all good. Just quickly, somebody asked the question if I think the person who asked me the question is thinking of setting up a scale model podcast. What do you listen to podcasts, and which platform do you use? I see people are using Audible, YouTube, Spotify, so all the basic ones. Podcast app, Spotify. Do you have to pay to put yours on Spotify? I don't know. But
there are lots of things online you can go to that basically you get a feed link, and then you can link it to all of the platforms.
Yeah.
So, iTunes, Spotify, everything. It's your hosting platform you need to look at.
Yeah, I gather that. There's the Apple one. Can you do it with the Apple one? If you host it on the Apple one, then they'll send it out to all the others, will it? Or they're like independent?
I don't know.
No, you have to keep in, but yeah, I thought I'd ask the question because I was asked if I could put it up. So I put a poll up, and actually only 48% of you. I love these polls, by the way. We should do these more often. Only 48% of you listen to a podcast. That's fair enough. Right. I was going to just quickly look at I can't see any CAD images for ICM, but next week I'll if I email ICM and say, look, have you got any screenshots or whatever information? We'll talk about that next week, so ICM doesn't.
Not next week, Mars. You'll be pining.
Oh no, I'm away next week. A week after, yeah, because I'm not here next week. I'm in Cornwall, putting cream on first.
Oh,
especially on the beach.
Sounds a bit rude, that, but I know
It
what
does,
you meant.
yeah. Cream
Oh,
on
you're
first.
gonna be like the old pole dark, aren't you? Eating
Yeah.
slug pie and
That's the poll you should have put up, Moss. Cream on first or jam on first?
Yeah, no, because they, until you've had it Devonian style with the cream on first, then you don't know. These Cornish lot.
Mrs.
Yeah.
well, as I said in the chat, that you should have a Hocking's ice cream, potted cream on top, and with a flake in it.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
Hawkins ice cream is the best ice cream. There's no two ways about it. Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they do.
£25 a litre, isn't it?
No, 30 now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's mega dear now, yeah. But it always has been. You only afford one scoop of Hawkins ice cream. That's it.
Bloody hell.
Anyways, Kerno is the only way. God, get out of here, Annette, honestly. Look how she lives. She's been down in Cornwall for a while, or moved away from there. So, wow, there's some debate about tonight, and I think it's great. As I said, we all put our 2 pence, and no one's actually right, are they? You have to wait and see who's right. You know what I mean?
Wrong, yeah.
As I said, now I've seen what these 3D printers can do like that. I think that's fantastic. This UFO by Airfix. It's even got the logo underneath. Absolutely fantastic.
And like you said, layer lines have been a constant problem for what we do. But now the 3D printers, like that flying saucer you've got there, like the Saxon I've just built, like the res kit stuff, layer lines to the naked eye, you can see them if you magnify them. If you can, you can't get away from that. That's how it works. But to the naked eye, the 3-foot rule that Alex talked about earlier, you can't see them.
Yeah, you're quite right. But then I'm pretty sure if I spray this 1,000.
But what Maz, what you're holding there was not printed on a resin printer, correct?
This was printed on a resin printer, not a filament printer.
Yeah, so it was printed on a resin printer.
Yeah, it was printed on a resin.
Okay.
It's brilliant. I'm really impressed with it, and it's something that came from Airfix. You know what I mean? For free.
But the reason that you want to get that printer, Moss, is because you've seen the end result. You haven't actually been through the printing process.
Yeah,
that might curb your enthusiasm a little.
It's black magic.
I don't like the smell. I don't like the smell.
No.
Well, if you don't like the smell there, you try. You'll have to come over, Moss, and we'll 3D print something for you.
Listen, the one I'm looking at is the Saturn 16K, and this is what this is printed on. Now I've seen them on the Saturn 8K, and I can see the lines. On the 16K one, I can just about see the lines, and that's why I kind of thought, you know what, maybe I could do something. You know, I've got a friend who wants Russian pilots. Why can't I find some online for him, buy the file, and print them off as many as he wants?
Quick question for Alex. Wait, no, that way.
Yeah.
Which way is up?
It's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. Which way can you? Again, my boy has the printer. I buy something. He gets it in a slicing software, but you can do something with resolutions or print lines or something in the settings on the print or the file itself, can't you?
Yeah.
And then that kind of dictates also, you got to have a good printer, but, like I said, I have no idea, but it's like you said earlier, it's a multifaceted thing. It's not just buy something, hit the print button.
It's not yet plug and play, is it?
No.
No. I mean, they're getting a lot better. There's oh god, what's the company called?
Elegant.
Something Gears. No, it's something Gears that have a printer which is almost plug and play. No, Elegoo is very much still a hobbyist kind of thing. You have to tinker a lot. But yeah, you have like you have resolution is pixels. I can't remember what it's called now, but you add the 3-dimensional element, the resolution that you're talking about, Jim, and so you get a cube or a rectangle, depending on how finely you slice, which is all down to the engineering of your Y drive. And currently, that's about 20 microns resolution, and that kind of dictates it. You can get around like some of those, like make them smoother by having anti-aliasing. So where you don't make it black or white pixels, you have grayscale. So, but then that depends on the resin. So the resin technology is slightly translucent. That allows some of the light through, so you don't get perfect curing, which helps to smooth those. So there's all kinds of things. Like Luke said, it's continuously evolving. And I'm sure we will get to a point where, the actual resolution of that is, great. Like screens now, is greater than our eye's ability to distinguish it. So for us, it will be indistinguishable. It's still messy and stinky.
Open up a window.
It's like everything. You've got to clean it, haven't you? You've got to, it's. I know the process, but for 500 quid, this new Saturn 16K thing, because it's all heated and everything, camera screens, you can see on your phone how there's one of the screens down you can't really see, but you've got the camera, they've got the camera inside. My mate's got one and he's just blown away with it. He said it's the most, and plug and play. Yeah, setting it all up's easy. Just switch it on, heat the liquid. But he did this for me, and that was just over a third of a bottle because he included that as well. Over a third of a bottle, and a bottle is £19.99. So that would have cost him about £7 to print. So, just saying. Yeah. Right, folks, it's 10 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us tonight on Airfix and Chill. Like I said, we won't be back next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. Keep in touch. Anyone's got any questions or anybody who wants to put a subject towards us that we can discuss. I think it's been very good tonight. Like I said, I love it because we all play devil's advocate on what's happening. And then we kind of come to a point where none of us really know, do we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we all end up agreeing with each other.
I think so, yeah. And I like that,
And you're always going to have, when you assemble a group of people like this, we all, without exemption, we all love this hobby. Every single one of us. Well, with that love of anything comes passion.
Yes.
Our approach to it might be different, and our sort of prediction for the way it's going to go, or the genres we build, how we build them, will all be different amongst all 8 of us that are sat here. But the passion doesn't change, and therefore sometimes, because of that passion, we will butt heads and have different opinions on the hobby, the way we do it, what's important, what's not. But Alex isn't trying to convince me to believe what he thinks. Neither am I trying to convince Alex to believe what I think. The only thing that we will know is in 20 years' time, one of us will be right and one of us will have got it wrong.
Still around in 20 years, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But we'll be sat at the bench talking about modelling and building kits. We'll still be doing that. That won't change.
We'll be there with a special pair of glasses on us, right? Holding up a bit.
To be fair, if I'm still here in 20 years, I'd have done well.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. But funny enough, right? When we're talking about joining resin, I remember reading about 2 or 3 years ago that somebody said that you will probably end up with 3D print. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this is an idea where you would hold it up to a special light, and it will fuse it together using a chemical.
Kind of there now.
You know.
You already have it now. UV curing resin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know,
UV curing glue. It's there.
You know, they tried 3D printing submarines that go to the Titanic, but we won't go any further than that one.
Oh,
Right. Anyways, well, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We'll go now. Take care. Have a good week.
On that note,
See you, everybody. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.